Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to today's Wild Rift video. In today's video, we're checking out all of the item, rune, and summon spell changes that will be coming to Wild Rift in the next patch. I spent the last few days over on the Chinese PBE going through every single item and seeing what's changed, what's been buffed, what's been nerfed, and also take a look at some of the new items and summoner spells. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm sure you're going to love this channel if you love Wild Rift, because I do daily Wild Rift content, from news to guides to funny content and so much more. And a small disclaimer before we head into this video, these changes are from the public beta environment, so these are not the final changes. Riot can still make some tweaks before patch 6.0 comes out in a couple of weeks time. First, let's talk about the new items that will be entering the Rift in patch 6.0. First up, we have a new tier 2 item called Forbidden Idol. This item is a new tier 2 item for supports that will build into Ardent Sensor, Harmonic Echo, Staff for Flowing Waters, Redemption, and Protector's Vow. The item will give you 100 maximum health, 10 ability haste, and 5% healing and shielding strength, which is a new stat to Wild Rift coming in 2025. Since this is a new tier 2 item that builds into every single support item, and we also have a new stat, this does mean that all the support items will also be changing, which I'll talk about a little bit later on in the video. The next new item is a tank item called Kainic Rukun. For the stats, you'll be receiving 350 maximum health, 100% base health regeneration, and a whopping 75 magic resistance. And for the passive, Magic's Bane, if you're not damaged from magic damage, within 10 seconds, you will gain a magic shield. This is from 70 to 350 base and will scale off 10% of your maximum health. This item is incredible for tanks like Ornn, Malphite, and Nautilus when playing against multiple champions that deal ability power damage. The next new item is a support item called Yordle Trap. This item will grant you 350 maximum health, 40 armor, and 15 ability haste. And for the passive, it's all about hitting your crowd control on enemy champions, gaining movement speed, and getting takedowns to give you and your team extra gold to snowball in the early game. And finally, we'll be getting a new boost enchantment for support mains called Dreammaker. And with Dreammaker, you'll be able to gain a blue and purple dream bubble every 8 seconds. And when providing a healing or shielding effect to an ally champion, both the bubbles will fly to that ally, empowering them for the next 3 seconds. Blue bubbles can reduce the next damage taken, and purple bubbles will increase the next attack for additional magic damage. And with the addition of these new items, we're going to be saying goodbye to Abyssal Mask and the Revival Enchant. As for the Hextech items, the theme part of the items where it says Hextech is being removed. However, every single one of the items is keeping the same effect with a few adjustments. Soul Stealer keeps its movement speed stolen and ability haste stolen, but these have both been reduced. For Stormrazor, we're keeping the self movement speed increased, but this has been reduced, as well as the target movement speed reduction, which has also been reduced. Black Cleaver has stayed the same from its Hextech counterpart, meaning that you can reduce the armor from enemy champions much quicker. Zeke's Convergence is keeping the same effect from the Blizzards, giving you more damage and more slow effects. However, both the damage and the slow effect have both been reduced. Moving on now to the item changes. First up, we have Bloodthirster, which is seeing its physical vamp being reduced from 12% down to 10%. Blade of the Rune King's physical vamp is also being reduced from 12% down to 10%. For Death Stance, we're seeing the maximum health healing being reduced once you get a takedown, and also the amount of physical damage that you can store has been reduced for both melee and ranged champions. For Divine Sunderer, the healing is going to be reduced from the Sheen passive. For Eclipse, the damage is staying the same, however the shield that you gain from the passive is going to be reduced. And for Sundered Sky, we're seeing the healing being reduced from your base attack damage and your missing health. For Crown of Shad Queen, after an enemy procs the Safeguard passive, the incoming damage that will be reduced will only be 40% instead of 50%. For Riftmaker, the Omni Vamp is going to be reduced from 13% down to 11%. Randuin's Omen is getting another rework to its passive, where now you can actually reduce the damage of critical strikes taken and also gain bonus movement speeds. Warmog's armor is seeing its regeneration effect being reduced from 5% down to 4.5%. Fimbulwinter, the upgraded item to Winter's Approach, is seeing its shield being reduced and also doesn't scale as much with your current mana. Mantle the 12th Hour is seeing its maximum health being reduced when you proc the Lifeline passive. Heartsteel is keeping its stacking health mechanic, which has been unchanged. However, the bonus physical damage that you deal now has been increased in terms of the base damage, but the scaling in the mid and the late game with your maximum health has been reduced. For Ardent Sensor, we're seeing the build path being changed, the ability power being reduced from 55 down to 35. However, now we get the new healing and shielding effect from Forbidden Idol. For Harmonic Echo with Forbidden Idol also being included in the build path, we're now seeing a plus 100 health increase and also the addition of the healing and shielding strength. For the passive, you'll see that Harmonic Echo now only heals one allied champion instead of 3 nearby allied champions. However, the base healing has been increased, and if you focus a champion that's below 40% health, the healing effect will be increased to 150%. Star for the Flowing Water will also see an addition to plus 100 maximum health and the healing and shielding effect. However, with Star for Flowing Water, you'll now only get 45 ability power instead of 65. For Redemption, the maximum health has been reduced from 400 to 350, but will now receive the plus 5% healing and shielding strength. And Protector's Vow will see an increase in maximum health from 350 up to 400 and also receive the 5% healing and shielding strength. We're getting a slight change to the Stone Plate enchant where the base shielding will be increased. However, you will no longer get the 200% shield from if you're near 3 enemy champions. This will now stack 14% for each nearby champion. However, it's still only capped at 3 champions. So overall, this is a huge nerf. Moving on to the runes now. Grasping Undying is getting a buff to its empowered attack through the healing and also the permanent health that you gain. Arcane Comet is going to be seeing its base damage being reduced. However, the scaling now has a lot more potential, with it being times by 3 instead of the original 2. Sudden Impact will no longer be giving you Armor Pen and Magic Pen. Instead, you'll be able to deal true damage, and the cooldown has also been increased from 4 seconds up to 10 seconds. And lastly, for Brutal, we're seeing the early game damage being nerfed, but the late game damage being buffed. And lastly, moving on to the summoner spells, Heal has been buffed, the cooldown has been reduced by 10 seconds, the heal amount has been increased by 10 at every single level, and the bonus movement speed duration has been increased from 1 second up to 2 seconds. For Barrier, the shield has been increased by a lot during the late game from 450 up to 560, and now the duration lasts for an extra 0.5 seconds. For Exhaust, as Riot mentioned, the range has been increased. However, now the slowing effect has been reduced from 60% down to 35%, but the reducing of damage has stayed the same. And lastly, taking a quick look at Cleanse, as you can see, it has a 100-second cooldown, and it removes all restrictive effects, including debuffs from summoner skills such as Exhaust and Ignite, and also makes the player unaffected by crowd control for 0.75 seconds. And there you have it. That's all the changes coming to the items, runes, and summoner spells in Wild Rift patch 6.0. Let me know what your favorite changes down in the comments, and as always, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.